Welcome everybody to our energy tips for March 16th till the 22nd of 2020. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm a professional energy therapist, healer, and coach, as you know. And a big welcome to you, Patreon supporters and heart warriors, here for our weekly scan through all the different aspects of what affects our energy and how we can deal with things. Now, we are obviously at a point of having to deal with some kind of inconvenient truths. I've just finished the truth talk called Dealing with Reality. I went really deep into some of the energy tips there that I will not repeat here, as in preparedness, as in physical self-healing and emotional stuff. I want to address some other aspects here. Obviously, you guys are in truth training. You guys are already willing to go into this place of self-responsibility and self-healing all along. And we already understand that, what was there first, the chicken or the egg, actually doesn't change the fact that we have to deal with some of these inconvenient aspects of truth. We understand this as our way of growth, of maturity, and obviously also spiritual awakening, spiritual intelligence. So, what are some of the messages that I want to give you today? I would like to talk about the chakras. We had a workshop here in as part of the energy awareness training last night, and I'm going to post the part where I go through all the 7 physical chakras and how they relate to today's collective situation. And then I'm going to move on to the chakra fields. Those are the energy centers in and around in our auric field, the even more unseen aspects. And I want to give you a few tips here in regards to what you can do at home, since we are going to look at a timeline here of possibly 2 months of being tied to home, of going into voluntary or involuntary self-isolation and social distancing. Whether or not we get sick, guys, I have been stretching this information here for you over months, is not really the focal point. Okay, what we need to focus on is how well we can deal with this, how well we can manage and master our energy. Because the worst thing that can happen to us is that we get pulled into the panic, that we get pulled into our own fears, into our own judgments, and all these things that fragment our energy system. And why? That is because it affects our etheric immune system, and what affects our etheric immune system ultimately then also affects our physical immune system. Why is this? Because from an energetic point of view, where everything is obviously a matter of energetic integrity, all right, the state our overall energy body is in determines the state of health. So the more fragmented we are, the more unhealed we are, the easier it is for lower vibratory energies to come in. And this is why it's not a surprise that the very definition of self-healing really is all about bringing ourselves back into wholeness, bringing ourselves into integrity. Healing is therefore not necessarily something that has to do with removing or fixing a flaw, but it has something to do with connecting all these fragmented parts in us. So whenever we talk about several aspects of this, when we talk about the aspects of karma or the aspects of trauma or the aspects of energetic behavior patterns, when we talk about inner child stuff, when we talk about narcissism, whatever it is that we have been addressing here is basically part of our fragmentation for each and every one of us in different ways, and also, in different severity. So subjectively, all this truth training that you guys have been doing with me here for years was really all about you, cultivating the self-reflection that is needed to even, feel this connection within. Okay, and why do we need the connection within? You guys already know this. I'm like a broken record here. It's because when you're not connected within, that's basically when you are asleep. That is when you're no longer aware of things. So ego mind might think it is aware and awake, but you are not. The consciousness part of you, the I am part of you. How do you know that you are awake, that you are aware? When you consciously recognize, and of course also then experience, and over time you'll have more and more differentiated reference feelings for this, when you know that you're connected. So the moment I am, and this is really just a moment, going within, you can utilize the deep breath to go within and center in your heart. And then you breathe out, you allow things to come out. That's when you are connected. That's when you're aware. Can you always feel your heart? This is a matter of practice. So I can feel my heart each time I do this. So I can literally do this within 1 second to reconnect myself if I feel a little fragmented or disconnected. For many of you, there's still a lot of overlay in regards to what it's supposed to feel like, which is why I always recommend that you do these transmissions with us, because here you get to experience this for yourself. And as I've mentioned in the truth talk, I don't teach a version of truth. I teach you how to feel and discern truth. And explains to you why there's so much emphasis on this regular training, why we have things such as the Energy Training Club, where you can come to every session for 30 days, every webinar, every transmission, every training, whatnot, what is going on. But also why this is a process and not an event, why this is, something that takes at least a year and a half to get your own system to be continually in this place of awakeness, and that then allows you to self-assess and to recognize sort of what truth is. So in order to, without all the woo-woo talk, in order for you to actually tap into this power of yours that's residing in your heart, that can provide you with the inner guidance to say the right thing at the right time, to be at the right place at the right time, all right? That is something that you need to cultivate, all right? And there are some beautiful examples here amongst our community last 2 weeks of heart warriors who have been training this with me month after month for years, some of them, and who are now in a very, very decisive moment in their life where they had to be at a certain place at a certain time, and where this ability to be in truth and to really connect with their inner guidance allowed them, to get out before some of the travel bans hit, or to take on the right job that brings them into a place that is a lot safer for them, or to leave the relationship that has been, pushing their energy down, for whatever reason. The causations are not really important here, but that are simply experiencing something that we often call like being in the flow, that are, who made decisions maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, who are now actually playing out to be the exact decisions that they needed to get out, or to get to somewhere, to arrive in a place that is more conducive for their energy. And this is so important, guys, because it's a practical thing. Heart Warrior program, Soul Self Journey program, those are not just some like 5D ascension wannabe type of things. Those are hands-on training programs for you how to adjust your 3D life to outer and inner challenges. And it just so happens now that we are all confronted with an outer challenge. And it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us, not only to drop all this segregation and this specialness about me better than you and so forth, because we are literally all in the same boat, all right? It's also something that can really help us to feel this inner guidance and how it works. And those of you who have these moments of recognizing that their inner guidance has been steering them towards this, has been basically telling them to train for exactly this, and especially the trance coaches amongst you who have been learning remote energy with me for years for this shift that is taking place here in our societies, regardless of what other people said, and your husbands and your wives and your family members thinking, that you're a bit crazy. All right. This is what you have been doing all this for. You've been training for this, most of you, all your lives as empaths and energetically sensitives. So I want you guys to first and foremost focus on appreciating your inner guidance, all right, that has gotten you to this place of understanding the context, understanding the importance of dealing with your emotions and, mastering, the insanity of your ego mind, and learning how to reconnect with your body consciousness and giving your body love and learning how to resolve all these things that have compounded in you, such as family issues, childhood issues, trauma, karma, shadow, and so forth. Guys, you are on the right track. So take a moment to really appreciate this, because this is one of the fastest way to up your vibes. Obviously, there are some new things that we're going to have to deal with, now things that we haven't really dealt with. Although the principles of self-healing, all this high vibratory living stuff that we have been talking about all along, is in its essence exactly what you need now on all these different levels. But let's look a little bit deeper into what all this coronavirus phenomenon here means, regardless of, sort of how it's going to impact us physically. I've talked about this in the Truth Talk, so please, go into the Truth Talk here. What does this do? Okay, on a very practical level, and didn't share this there only because I really wanted to produce a piece that can help people to prepare better and to let go of the resistances. But there are, of course, bigger contices there. Okay, there's a bigger meaning to all of this. I've talked about this over and over again and prepared you guys since July last year. Okay, there's a massive shift here, massive socio-economical shift that is happening. It will change all our social values and our ways of living. And as I've also mentioned in the Truth Talk, it's something that can really give us hope. Even though we have to go through the birthing and the growing pains of that at first. But all this stuff that we have been bickering about and that has been keeping us so distracted and pushing us, to the edge of what was acceptable for us. This narcissism in the world and the betrayal and the political circus and the warmongering and all that. Yes, we're going to have to still go through this, guys, here, on the timeline for the next 5 to 10 years. But it's going to strip all of that, collective by collective, all right? And we have a serious chance through this confrontation with untruths now, all right, to leave this gaslighting and go into, actually growing up, actually maturing, actually raising in consciousness through all of this. It gives me a lot of hope, because it was so difficult to see through all this political drama, especially here in the United States, and seeing all the fanaticism and left and right extremism and religious fanaticism and so forth come up. And how can I say these things that we as a collective are actually in the process of increasing our collective consciousness, was so hard to see. Now you can see it. Okay, and it always happens through letting go, through stripping all the layers that are actually distracting us from being awake and from being conscious. So oneness on this collective level and completeness on our personal level, and really dropping all this segregation and this ego notion that it's personal, all right, that is what you need here. This next week is crucial for the development of the epidemiological curve, okay, and the severity of the socioeconomic impact. Now, I do want to say one thing up front, that the economical aspect here, be it foreseen. I've been talking about this for 12 years and telling people what to do or what they can do. All right, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a medical doctor. You know all this. But all these things that we have been addressing here over these last 12 years are now coming into effect. So our financial system, as we know it, will collapse. This has to happen, and we should all be super grateful for this deflation. But it will, of course, short term create a deflation of cash. So we're going to have a shortage of cash here in a little bit, because the financial system will expose itself as the pyramid system that it is, and the banks will go bankrupt left and right. So one thing you can make sure is that if you have a little bit of cash sitting in your bank, to check if it's FDIC insured. Because without that, if the bank goes bankrupt, all your money's gone and you have no legal ways to retrieve it. So you could open up a bank account with a different bank that is FDIC insured here in the United States. So you have similar things in your countries. But another thing that you can do is what we have been recommending all along, to diversify. And one of the ways is to look at the crypto, at Bitcoin and so forth, a currency, simply because it's a way to hedge things. So right now, because there's the stock market is still a bit in denial, and people are still trying to make money off the volatility that is there. It has also led to cryptos and even the gold price to fall. But this will not stay like this, guys. I told you this 3 years ago. All right, this is the time now. So it's also a really good opportunity for you to look at this. So to be very, very practical about things. And again, here I'm not a financial advisor. But if you can, and I'll address what it means to have a sort of international connections, because some of you live in different countries that you are citizens of, or you have relatives in other countries and so forth. So this can be to your advantage. But here's one thing I would do. What I have done and what I have been doing all along. Okay, open up a Coinbase account. It's an online bank, yes, that handles cryptocurrencies. It's in my view, probably the safest right now. So anyway, there's always, of course, uncertainty with those kind of things, but they have good authentication. Then open up a PayPal account if you don't have yet. And if you are in the States, get a debit card for your PayPal account. Because PayPal allows you not only to pay, using different sources of cash money flowing into your PayPal account, it also allows you to send money to yourself. And this is then sort of the part here that can work really well for people who have accounts overseas, okay, have a second PayPal account in that country, and but have a debit card with your main account, so that you can always access money and you can send it back and forth between your PayPal accounts. for free. The same, of course, applies to cryptocurrencies. They're still in the toddler stages, so this is more right now a way to hedge things. So those of you who started 3 years ago, you overpaid back then, but don't worry about it. This was really to break the dam here. So overpaying doesn't mean that you made a mistake. It just means that you started at a place when sort of this first 2% of people realized this. We are now breaking through the 7% barrier, okay, and going into mainstream territory here pretty soon in the next year or two, okay? So all is good. You guys did the right thing, and do what, most people like me have recommended and still recommending HODL. Okay, the practical usability of all this will come later. Okay. Then have a little bit of cash there, because you can see this right now, what is happening, the hoarding and all this. So you don't want to get into this sort of first chakra problem that you literally have no money, because through all the lockdowns and so forth, if you are not lucky enough to live in a country where you have paid sick leave, or like in my country where they're actually encouraging people to stay home and paying them for staying home, is a completely different approach, right, in Iceland. Then you're going to have to deal with your first chakra, namely with your finances. Okay, so obviously there are certain industries here that are more impacted in the beginning, but ultimately it'd be other industries. So if you work in the service industry with hospitality, anything, I mean, I don't have to spell this out, you get it, okay, anything that has to do with direct contact with people will be shut down here within the next 2-3 months. I've talked about this big time. So we have to find ways, either creative ways or ways to counteract our panic. Okay, this is the biggest thing, besides appreciating your consciousness, your awareness. Okay, you need to prevent first chakra panic, the survival, self-preservation panic that runs through your autonomous nervous system at all cost. All right, so do something that you can do to survive in regards to like these changed social conditions. All right, maybe do a pet walking service for neighbors who don't want to go outside because they're afraid to contract the virus. There's a lot of old people there that have pets. They need help with this. You can get paid for that. All right, they rather pay you, okay, than getting infected. All right. Or do like a neighborhood shopping service or something like that, guys. All right, I just want to throw out ideas here how you can practically deal with the situation right now on a monetary level. Okay, because you're gonna have to understand that this shutdown here will have severe consequences in April and May. All right, when the first supply chains are actually going to fall apart. So you got to prepare yourself for that. Now, a lot of these other things that I've been talking about for years, like self-sustainability, energy and food supply, all right, those are things that count now more than ever. So everything that you can do to become independent, and also maybe changing your lifestyle around that. There are certain things you don't really need, and there are certain foods that you really don't need. And one of the things that you really want to pay attention to is when it comes to like preparedness and getting foods and so forth, all this packaged food that you might think is what's going to get you through, right, is actually lowering your immune system. So you got to be really careful and make wise choices here. The more important part is your immune system, because when that goes low, you all know how this goes. When your physical goes low, everything else goes low. It's so much harder to connect with your heart, to connect with your emotions, and to see clarity when your physical goes low. So yes, your prime directive needs to be physical and energetic self-healing. All right, nothing is more important than that, other than the tool that you need to use for this, which is connecting within, and of course connecting with your loved ones. If you are if you have children, if you're a parent, or if you are daughter or son of parents, you'll feel a lot of grief and responsibility here. And we've had this case quite a bit. Like many of you have their parents in nursing homes right now, and you got the notification that you can no longer see them. I really want you to understand that this is needed to flatten that curve, okay? Because if we go, it's not about you getting sick, it's about us bringing this into these homes. So please, for the sake of your own parents or grandparents, understand why they have to do this. And instead of arguing with the personnel, who quite frankly is already overworked and already stressed out up to the wazoo, all right, to strengthen them. Okay, find other ways. Be creative. Have your FaceTime on, and let your mom or your dad, be part of your family dinner, or, let them talk to the kids, or let them watch you play things. All right, be creative, guys. All right, really tune into this higher potential of yourself, and use your connection to the divine Wi-Fi, that can help you with understanding the larger context. So, when I say things such as, oh yeah, our financial system is going to fall apart, I'm saying this like baking bread, right? Because for me, it's an old thing already. I've been talking about this since 2008, and I actually thought it was going to happen 2008, and it almost did, okay? So we have a little bit of a delay there, but that's fine. Now it's coming. So please, guys, keep your head on your shoulders, keep a good stance, and understand that energy work is not there for you to, become an angel of 10D or something. It is there for you to become an embodied soul here in 3D, and to bring all your abilities and everything, your medicine and your power, into expression, and also to make this available to others. So understand that out vibrating other people's chaos, the collective chaos right now, has to do with you focusing on the essential and stripping all the non-essential, and it's including all this emotional and mental overlay, guys. In 2-3 weeks, nobody's going to care about you whining about your childhood trauma. I hate to say it that way. You have to rock up a notch here into growing up. This is a grown-up problem, okay? And you cannot address this with a childish or youthful sort of wish to make it all go away, or have, waiting for somebody to come up with a fix. It's not that. Just accept the fact that things are changing. Accept the fact that you might be getting sick. You're not going to die from it, okay? Accept the fact that, this is all going to be part of our reality, but also the positive things that will come with this. And, this maybe sort of a stronger sense of self, now that you're realizing that your inner guidance has been showing you the way all along. All right, and now many of you can really feel this renewed trust in yourself. Yes, it's just because it was so far out, it didn't make any sense, but now it's all starting to make sense. So stop hoarding toilet paper, because really that isn't going to make a difference. You don't need to hoard anything for now. You got to understand that when we get hit by these severe supply chain disruptions in April and May, that this will affect things such as cars, everyday products, pharmaceutical products, and so forth. So there's much bigger problems than that, and that is, what your neighborhood is going to look like when all the antidepressant and anti-anxiety medication isn't going to come. All right. So understand that there are bigger issues at hand here. Those of you who have businesses, smaller businesses especially, but even that won't matter in April anymore. Okay, the big ones are going to be affected just as much as the little ones. Okay, so understand that this is asking you to be real, to be truthful with yourself, and trust in your inner guidance that can provide you with the input that you need to make changes. Make the change now, guys. This week is a crucial week in all ways. It is the week that determines how the curve in your collective is going to be like. It's going to determine how your finances and how your business is going to develop here in the future. All right, so sorry for being a little intense here, but this is really, really important that you understand this. So here the recording from the chakra by chakra tips from last night, from the webinar last night, and at the end I will add some of the chakra field, some of the more etheric aspect to this. Well, okay, so we have the first chakra here. So the energy is you probably just have to take my say so. Right now, energy comes in from below, goes through our whole entire chakra system, and then it circulates back, kind of like a circulatory system, except for it starts really from the earth, and then there's also an input and an exit here to the cosmic energy. So we have these two openings and entryways. But here in 3D on this planet, I do not know what this is like for other beings on other planets, if they so exist, but here it is, can be observed that energy, that we are receiving energy from the planet Gaia coming in from below. It circulates through our energy systems in this order, and therefore our chakras in their numbering also represent a certain evolutionary state of our consciousness. Overall, it means that we can relate it to the fundamental needs. If you guys are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but you can also relate it to human evolutionary development altogether. So, the smaller the number, okay, the lower the chakra, the more raw the energy is, the less refined it is, the less, the more primal it is. All right, so our first chakra, root chakra, is different. The most primal one is related to these aspects here of belonging and basic survival. Second chakra, our emotional needs. I don't really want to go too deep into this. Most of you are familiar with this. So it's third chakra, solar plexus, with our willpower, with our courage, with ego. Heart chakra, fourth chakra, has to do with love and giving and receiving, and connection, deeper connection. Fifth chakra with expression and communication. Sixth chakra, our third eye, with inner vision and clarity. Also the ability to discern truth, by the way, Gloria. And then seventh chakra, the higher consciousness, all right, and the connection to something like a greater intelligence than our mind. Okay, so this is a very simple terms here. For anyone who is wanting to learn about energies, your own energies, for whatever reason, okay, for self-healing, for protection, for better understanding, for becoming wiser, increasing your consciousness, or becoming a healer, this is your reference guide. Okay, these charts. This is an extremely differentiated breakdown of what the different chakras actually regulate. Okay, on physical, emotional, mental aspect, and how they play out when they're balanced and imbalanced, what the spiritual aspects are, what etheric problems are with them, and what the remedies are. I do not really want to go through them in this way here because we're already running out of time. I wanted to use the current collective energies to give you guys examples for how chakra energies actually play out in the practical, and why this information about yourself is so valuable. The first chakra is therefore with its sort of survival fears, one of the chakras that is most activated right now. It has to do with feeling safe and basic security
It has to do with, our stance in life, our belonging, our resilience, if you will, also our physical immune system, and our fundamental core trust, kind of like how we trust that the sun rises every morning. We kind of trust that we're going to still continue breathing in 5 minutes. All right. So there are some things that happen in this autonomous way, all right, that we don't that we can't control. So this is what our first chakra regulates. Okay, and with it also a certain discipline. Okay, so the fact that we have to eat every day, that we have to, physically clear every day, and so forth. Those are very, very fundamental, primal things, and they are being regulated in the first chakra. They play when we have imbalances in our first chakra. The way this plays out, guys, is money issues, a lack of sense of self, a tendency to have a disturbed way of normality. Okay, disturbed, I mean, with like where we accept things as norm that we shouldn't be accepting as norm, but it's very undifferentiated. Later we'll learn this, like called boundaries, but that's more second chakra. Um, uh, Also, issues with our sexuality, either asexual or oversexual. It's imbalanced. Okay, so these are first chakra issues, and also either isolation, in this like seeing yourself as completely separated from others and seeing yourself as single fighter. This is currently triggered in the whole entire collective, and this is part of the reason why people buy toilet paper. And you guys have maybe heard me say this already. This is a very interesting phenomenon that nobody would have been able to anticipate. We are faced with, sort of self quarantining, social distancing, and what happens? The the supermarkets run out of toilet paper, and this is an international phenomenon. All right, nobody can explain it. I can explain it, and one of the reasons is that it triggers our first chakra issues. It shows our imbalances. Which part of this disturbed norm, a sense of normality, our lack of sense of self, our sexual issues, and our separation. And why is that? But I want you to understand why this is. That it's not just first chakra, but the first thing that comes up, the first remedy that comes up, is that we want to feel safe in a certain space. We want to feel safe on, like if it was Stone Age, in our cave. All right. And where do people go? Most people out there that haven't worked on this yet consciously, where do they go? What is their cave? Where do they go to feel, to be alone, to, I don't know. Used to be reading newspaper, nowadays it's playing on the phone.
Bathroom.
They go to the bathroom. That's why. The governments tell them, you're going to have to stay home for 2 weeks. And the subconscious of this person says, then I have to get a lot of toilet paper because I'm going to have to hide out in the bathroom. That's our subconscious, guys. All right. So here you can see a function of your chakra playing out in your life. It's affecting you. You don't even know why. Okay. So it has to do with this space, and it has to do with some other aspects, uh, that have to do with difficulties with dealing with our own shit, so to speak. So it also scares people to actually having to deal with their own, well, let me use the word shit here. I don't mean this in a degrading way. I mean this sort of semi-literal, but it is something that most people are subconsciously more afraid of than anything else. Okay, this is the reason why people hoard toilet paper, why they build thrones of toilet paper. There are memes and pictures on the internet, guys, where people literally build a throne of toilet paper rolls around their actual toilet bowl. All right, and this shows a first chakra reaction here. So what can we do instead of building a toilet paper throne? We can first and foremost do what the first chakra needs the most, and that is grounding. Okay, it's so close to the ground, right? And this is where the energy comes in. Okay, so if I focus on the connection to the ground, and obviously if we have a spiritual context for it, the heart of Gaia, divine feminine energies, the planet, we love the planet, nature, and so forth, it even becomes more effective. But the first and probably most effective thing that when you feel first chakra issues that you can do is to ground yourself, take your shoes off, connect with the ground, feel the ground through the soles of your feet, and walk. So walking fears off is a very effective chakra exercise. Obviously, also all things concerning home and safety and stability. So we are in a time of uncertainty. So we want stability. How can we have or feel stability in a time that is uncertain? We can focus first and foremost on the essentials. Essentials only. Okay, so this is a discipline because we have to prioritize here. We have to actually deal with it. We have to deal with our shit in quotation marks. All right. And we need discipline for this because if there is no outer stability, we need to find the stability from within. Well, those of you who are aware of energies, you know this. We always have to find stability from within. Now, what is another way to sort of help ourselves to balance our first chakra, especially in times like this, is of course the overall body consciousness, the connection to your body, to really feel into your body. And like I often say to people, to squeeze your butt cheeks, okay, just so you know you're there. This helps your first chakra to arrive in the here and the now. You can do exercises such as all impact related exercises such as jump rope or kickboxing, or trampoline, like a little trampoline up and down, anything that helps you to literally, sort of touch the ground or have this impact in you. I've often also called this grunt work, anything that sort of makes you exhale, in sort of this guttural way, because that helps you to clear the energies out of your first chakra that you've absorbed. And it just creates sort of the stillness that you need to feel safe, because the opposite of stillness is overwhelm. And when our first chakra is disturbed or blocked or contracted or um, uh, imbalanced, then we feel easily overwhelmed. So we need to work on our stance, and this comes through, our body consciousness, knowing what we can do to get a safe space, and then to go into stillness and rest. Okay, this is then what forms resilience. Another reason, by the way, why this first chakra is so challenged right now, besides the survival and self-perseverance, because that's really the function of the first chakra energetically, is also because we are sort of forced to deal with reality, and this goes against another part of us, which is why the toilet paper is not just linked to the first chakra. It's also linked to the third chakra, but we'll get to that. Second, the sacral chakra, the navel chakra. Okay, this is responsible for everything with sort of slightly more advanced. Okay, reproduction, nurturing, sensuality, sexuality, but also levity and pleasure, and everything sort of on a still quite fundamental level, but the joy of life. Okay, so life force, like we so often see this in children. It's also our emotional processing, All right, but it really, the second chakra really links us to sensuality overall, and it's also responsible for self-nurturing in that way. Now, when this is imbalanced, then we have a hard time differentiating boundaries. Okay, this is very often expressed in codependency. It's emotional boundaries. Okay, if it's a typical problem for empaths. Empaths have a very hard time with differentiating which emotions are theirs and which emotions are that of others or the collective, and therefore usually or typically have second chakra issues. It also results, like the imbalance results in absorption of energies. This is also where we feel the emotional impact of being overwhelmed, and also where we feel the emotional impact of separation and isolation. But the second chakra is the part in our energy system that is responsible for coping, all right, for coming up with ways for either seeking pleasure or avoiding pain. Okay, it's what imbalance. Second chakra is what leads to addictions of any kind, but also obsessive behavior, and the flip side of that, the numbness, or the cutting ourselves off from our emotions. Okay, so here, how does this play out right now in a collective? How does it play out for you right now, and how did this play out in the session? This is basically sort of the combination, your direct environment that you were exposed to, and the collective. Okay, what can you do? Number one rule for second chakra imbalance: hydration. Drink lots of water. Number two, good food, preferably self-cooked, lots of spices. I mean, if you don't like it spicy, it's not about spicy. It's about, like really going into the diversity of life, you know, color of life, the sweetness of life. Right? It also, you know, it helps to go into this playful part of life, goofiness and creativity. Those are the resonances and the activities that can help you with balancing second chakra issues that we are observing right now everywhere. And that is, people are getting obsessive about things. They are going into big time coping, addictions. And there's also something that is not quite yet that visible for most, but there's also a lot of guilt and guilt tripping. Don't know if you guys have noticed this. So this is the part here that comes with some of the, collective aspect of the problem that we have right now, because, well, we've never actually had to resolve an issue collectively before. Well, we kind of do, but now is the time in the history of humanity that we realize we have to. We're in this together. All right. So yeah, there's a bit of guilt stuff coming forward now. Third chakra is now moving up more into control, more into having a bit more power, and that power is, or can be translated into, self-control, into willpower, but also, seeking power over others, trying to control the environment, trying to control, everything outside of ourselves. Can also play out in confidence and competence and self-responsibility if it's balanced, and feeling a good self-identity, feeling having a good sense of belonging and self-respect, and with it also respecting of others, and having this sort of wisdom, to differentiate what is good for me, and the imbalanced expression of that is, of course, the trying to overpower others, trying to control others, being selfish, narcissistic, but also activities such as hoarding, OCD, control, and anxiety, perfectionism. We talked about this in the beginning. Greed, righteousness, and guess what? Blaming, externalizing things to the outside. It's not mine. No, this is not mine. It's somebody else's. It can trigger inferiority and shame. This is the second reason, or the second aspect for the toilet paper phenomenon. It has to do with not wanting to feel shame, externalizing this. It's a collective energy that's being triggered in us, and the way our ego thinks it can deal with it is by having a lot of toilet paper, because it helps to externalize things, to not having to take on things. Okay, and it's relatively cheap, easy to hoard. Okay. Remedies for the third chakra problem that we're all having right now is sunshine. Sunshine is the most natural remedy for solar plexus imbalances. Going outside, going on walks, seeing the bright side of things, slowing down, because performance and perfectionism create this hyperactive, overstimulated adrenal fatigue. Okay, it's also linked to the anxiety. So we need to slow down. We need to activate the parasympathetic nervous system that can, sort of calm our, first chakra stuff down, our adrenals and cortisol and all the stuff that's flushing through our system on the neurotransmitter level when we feel threat, survival threat. So here with the third chakra, we have to learn to translate things in different ways and to develop a strategy for this one step at a time. But it's really about learning that it's more about being than doing, so that confidence, competence, and maturity can come to an expression. And we always start, when it comes to third chakra, we always start with focusing on the now, present moment awareness. I am breathing. All right, it's actually a fourth chakra remedy, but it leads to the fourth chakra, which is more sophisticated in that way. And the main task right now is very beautifully visible, that plays directly into all our enlarged third chakras, is acceptance. Accepting reality for what it is. This is what comes as a result of present moment awareness. Recognizing that this is something we all have to deal with, first chakra, coming along with the fact that yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I can make it good. I can, I can create safety. I can create belonging. I can, have good food, take good care of myself, and so forth. All right, so I'm not getting too overwhelmed. All right, the second chakra and third chakra is yes, and I can overall focus more on being rather than doing. Maybe welcome self-reflection on all the non-essentials in life. All right, that we've sort of adapted in our lifestyle that we no longer need. Okay, and accepting that and letting go. So this is then what we can do for our third chakra. Fourth chakra, our heart chakra. We all know, even if we are new to energies, that our heart chakra plays a fundamental role. It does, because it's right at the center of all our chakras and chakra fields, and is therefore the sort of the it is the it is the 0 point of it. Okay, it's where everything can collapse, or where everything can consolidate. It's also where everything can expand. And so collectively, we're standing at a point in our development where we're dealing with the barrier between the third and the fourth chakra. We're we're in the process of moving in our fourth chakra, in our heart awareness, seeing things from our heart's perspective, seeing everything as connected, as one. That is what our fourth chakra allows us to do. When this is imbalanced, we can feel very lonely. We can feel a lot of grief. It can make us very passive, sort of driveless. It can make us feel stuck. Um, we can also feel sort of some kind of resentment almost, because we feel like a sort of resentful provider here. We've been taking care of everybody and nobody's taking care of us, so there's the victim aspect to that. And this is also where we find sort of the most of the expressions of codependency and co-addiction. So it's basically a false understood empathy. Okay, this often happens when we have a too enlarged heart chakra, and this is one of the reasons why projecting our heart chakra to other people is an extremely unsafe thing to do, and it imbalances you from within. It's an open invitation for absorbing other people's energies, for pulling in abusers, pulling in the narcissists, which is also one of the common phenomenons amongst energetically sensitives, this empath narcissist problem. All right. But most and foremost, and this is the part here that we really need to understand, because this is very, very strong right now. So we have first chakra, second, third, and fourth chakra high alert right now, is that we feel some kind of grief about, needing to let go. There's a loss there, and there's a strong sort of a victimization. Okay, that's coming up. This is all showing us that we're imbalanced here, because as in its balanced expression, the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, provides us with flexibility, adaptability, with self-awareness, with resourcefulness, with trust and creativity in ourself, with inner guidance, and with the life force, with the power to follow through on these things. So how can we remedy this? What can we do? The fastest way to shift your energy into your heart, and there's also misconception, people, and I know I've said this too sometimes, but that's only for people who have a really, really hard time feeling their heart, to think of a loved one. But this is not what you want to do, because you're projecting your energies onto the other person. You're pulling this other person in. That's not safe for the other person. So don't do this. Instead, you can look at something that is really beautiful. You can look at animals. You can look at plants. You can listen to music. It's the fastest way to really connect with your heart chakra. There's a reason why kitty and puppy videos are the most successful videos, besides pimple popping and watching people eating, which is really weird, but it's the reality of social media today. So focusing on beauty, appreciating beauty, it's the fastest way to connect with your heart. Connecting with others, obviously, can also be perceived as beautiful then, because you are recognizing the beauty in connection. But one of the primary functions of our heart chakra, guys, is to regulate, and now hear me here, this is sort of figurative speech, to regulate the breath of life. Okay, and therefore the heart chakra is directly here in our lung area. This is our breathing apparatus, and also our cardio. So these are the two things that can really, really help us with the physical part of our heart chakra, namely going out in fresh air and doing cardio, moving your body. Another thing that really helps is to do thymus tapping. That is, to find your thymus is sort of right below your jugular, and to tap it, because this increases your I am awareness. This is not just a spiritual, this is an actual parasympathetical uh, uh, pressure point and acupuncture point all right, that connects you with your, sort of, yes, I am here and I am alive, vitality. Okay. It's what allows you then later to tap into energy management and really feel on a day-to-day basis what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good, what is contractive for you, what is expansive for you. And sort of all those high vibe activities that myself and a lot of other people talk about that can help us to tune into optimism and positivity and so forth, but not in the sense that we have to force ourselves to just think positive, because the mind is not involved with this. It's really about high vibe stuff. So positivity more in the sense of faster vibratory rate, uh, things such as appreciating beauty, going out in nature, listening to high vibratory music, all those that are the examples for those kind of activities. And it will also help us to recognize our own needs to differentiate them more. Yeah, so any imbalance here in our heart chakra will cut us off, and it will create a false self. It will make it really hard for us to relax, okay, and it will pull us into this sadness, into this greed. Okay? And the coronavirus works with that. The coronavirus is an attack on your fourth chakra. So I want you guys to understand that. So in regards to first, second, third, and fourth chakra, you can already see a theme here. Go outside in the air, in the fresh air, take fresh air in the sun, hydrate well, have good food, make sure you're surrounded by the right people, be in the right space, okay, and move your body, increase your body consciousness, because that doesn't just strengthen your physical immune system, but also your energetic immune system. Moving on, and I'm going to speak very, very fast now because I want to respect your time. It's also late for me. Fifth chakra, the part of our energy system that is responsible for communication, for self-expression, really important in our time right now, because so much of the information that we are bombarded with is untrue. This is why our fifth chakra also feels so bombarded and often so contracted, because it's also the energy center that regulates our ability to see truth and to face or be confronted with untruths, and to recognize incongruences. When it's not balanced, and this is what most people perceive, then we have a tendency to uh, get stuck in our minds, in our critical inner voice, and our life is full of elephants in the room, unseen things. We never say what we mean. We gossip. We pretend, we fake, and that leads to even more imbalances in the fifth chakra, and hence creates a lot of problems, especially muscle problems, tensions in our muscular and skeletal problem, repression, obviously. Also, this mentalism altogether, always rationalizing things, and this is also where the fanaticism comes from. It's also where most of our masculine and feminine imbalances are located, guys. So fifth chakra is super, super important now. It's the communication. So we have to walk the talk. Every time we lie, every time we gossip, every time we have a negative thought, be it about us or the world or the neighbor, all right, our energy register sits. You can lie to yourself, but you cannot lie to your body and to your energy body. Okay, so this is where this gets stored. Okay, here, this is why so many people have neck issues, atlas issues, shoulder issues, the jaw. A lot of people have jaw issues without even knowing it. It typically then plays out as hip issues or lower back issues. That's actually coming from the jaw. And pessimism, So when all this works well, then we have no problems with being optimistic and looking forward to the next adventure and seeing everything as an opportunity to grow, and we recognize our own part in this, and we have no problems with being accountable, and we actually even seeing the greater good in truth and integrity. Okay, so there's a self-honesty and balance that comes with this. And when this is impaired, then it becomes very, very difficult for us to even discern truth. Okay, because internally it's so fragmented, we are so fragmented that we have no reference for truth. We no longer know what truth is. And that's why obviously communication, talking about feelings, expressing them, and so forth, is such an instrumental part of balancing our fifth chakra. We also need to understand that without this, we cannot expand. Okay, we can expand our heart chakra, but we cannot really bring it into if we cannot really bring it into expression, then it can't manifest. Okay, so the task here and also the remedy is to always try our best and to really show up with integrity and with the willingness to share. And transposed into the current situation, it is the part in you that has this capability to be prepared to face the reality of maybe self-quarantine or whatever, to have a certain level of preparedness and to recognize that you need a strategy for this, and that will have to sort of show up for that. You have to, like, bring in, the discipline, the ability to tune into your self-nurturing and your own fundamental needs, the second chakra, the self-responsibility and the confidence and competence, third chakra, and the self-awareness and the flexibility and the creativity that comes with it through your fourth chakra. All that then leads to a more balanced fifth chakra. Move on here to the sixth chakra, or third eye. Right? We all know that this is where the visions come from, but what most people don't know is this is also where all the illusions come from, and the escapism, and the false beliefs, and the conspiracy stuff, and the fantasies, and the fanaticism, that is based on dogma. Okay, this is where paranoia is coming from. Okay, and this is also a common problem amongst energetically sensitives. They lack the discernment of that. It affects your sixth chakra big time, because it allows you to finally have reference feelings for truth, and to tune into your inner guidance and know what yours is. What is your guidance, and what is your critical inner voice? Know the difference. Know what's yours, what is other people's. And once that happens for us, we begin to have a true vision. We begin to trust and listen to our heart, and we have access to this higher wisdom. This is also where self-healing really comes into effect. So how can we remedy imbalances here? How can we help our sixth chakra to balance? Through sleep and meditation. Many of you will find out that meditation can actually replace a little bit of sleep, but there's an important function of sleep that many people don't know, and that is the etheric consolidation happens through sleep. It helps us to reduce the stimulus. We have a nervous system here in 3D, and that needs to shut down. We go then into the etheric of our body, so to speak, when we sleep, and this is also where third eye is the most active. So through learning how to do lucid dreaming, learning how to meditate, and especially transcendental meditation, like we do with Seven Metronome and so forth, allows you to master this state, okay, and the discernment, because you're able to hold your focus and you can see what truly matters. It allows you to be more in tune with yourself. And this is then also when you begin to realize that there's something like a higher power, and that all places are here and all times are now. You begin to see how past, present, and future are connected. This is where your future self comes in. And this is then what connects us with higher consciousness, what connects us with, you know, sort of the cosmic thinking of things, also the collective thinking of things, but also the greater good of things. It creates true vision, precognition, but not precognition, but premonition more. It's a different layers of that, okay, different versions of that, where you get a true vision of what happens and where you can begin to express that. But it is also something that can bring in through this ability to fully, connect with the sort of the greater scope of things. All right, this is where you also get a really cool sense for peace and that everything's perfect the way it is, and that there's a divine order in things, and that you're really not in control of anything. And it helps with the third chakra issue of trying to control everything. But a lot of people have imbalances in their seventh chakra, mostly due to misinformation. Very few people actually feel this, the crown chakra, so they just do what people tell them or what they see in pictures. And this is the reason why there is so much ego projection here. People are not aware of how much they project, and this is the reason why they absorb so much. Their etheric is exhausted, they're exhausted, adrenal fatigue. All central nervous system issues have to do with seven chakra issues, and astral stuff, seeing demons, feeling attacked by demons, all the attack stuff, with it then, of course, also sort of a depression that can come with it, and sort of refusing to be human altogether. It's another layer of externalization, but this is literally where we see the cause of all our malaise, of all our suffering in the outside, be it dark forces or other people, governments or viruses. Don't matter. It's sort of a magical thinking. Okay, this is a very those are the symptoms of seventh chakra imbalances, and there's of course different kinds of imbalances that I don't want to go into right now, but this is primarily what you're feeling into when you're doing this training that you're doing here with me. You are sensing the shifts when you go from one chakra to the next, and you can begin to feel sort of the basic message here, the basic guidance that comes in. All right. So, what can we do to remedy those? What can we do right now, especially? The seventh chakra really wants us to connect with the larger context, with the hologram of things, with it wants us to be part, it wants us to, no, it's not it's not a person, but it triggers the hologram in us, the part of us that really plugs us into the divine Wi-Fi, into this network. And so, obviously meditation and things like this, they help. But if we already have a imbalanced seven chakra, guys, then we're just going to see more of the demonic forces and all that. So if this is all you see when you close your eyes or when you go into meditation, then that's not going to help you. My tip for you would be, first and foremost, to reduce all the stuff that comes in from the outside, because it's your central nervous system here that plays a role in this. And so no news, no gossiping and all that's like really sort of more feeling into, the fact that we are all in the same boat, that, that we are all connected. And this is then the remedy, is to build small networks, with your neighbors, with your family, with your friends, or circles, like I do this here on all levels possible to me, like online communities, forum, webinars, in-person circles, online circles. I mean, all this, okay, is what helps you to balance your seventh chakra. And it also comes really as a need when your seventh chakra is fully functioning, when it's fully plugged in, because there is this calling to serve others, and that is then also the medicine, and it then also becomes your power.
So energy management obviously does not just apply to our physical chakras also to our, the layers of our energy body. And, this is a big part of all of us here doing this truth training, namely recognizing that we store energies and absorb energies, as I've just explained, in certain parts of our energy body. And since they all have a function, just like the organs in our body, they can impact that function if we don't work on resolving them. So obviously the omega and the alpha, those are the gateways. They're fundamental here in how our energy expresses. They are relating to a masculine and feminine, or basically omega is feminine, alpha is masculine energies. And when they're out of balance, we talked a lot about this in the past, then kind of everything comes out of balance. Your eighth chakra field, this is your pain body. This is where all your trauma is stored, all the past, all right, and the attachments and the victimhood and all this. Guys, you got to get out of this now, because at the eighth, whatever is stored there is triggering your root chakra, your first chakra, survival, preservation, and dampens your effectivity there. All right. Then your ninth chakra, that's your mental body. Okay. This is where all your belief and mindsets are, and your illusions. Okay. And this mentalism all together. Okay. Your programmed beliefs, and especially your negative inner self-talk, your critical inner voice. And it is also, listen carefully, it is also the part of you, of your energy field, that is off the understanding or believes that it sees itself as the ego mind, can out-vibrate the divine, can be smarter than the divine, can be better than the divine. There's a really, really big problem with our mental body, guys, in our whether you can see this or not, it doesn't matter, but it keeps feeding your ego field, your ego illusion, and those blind spots that I've mentioned earlier. Then the 10th chakra, or 10th chakra field, it's your karmic field, the spiritual karmic field, where all these things with your karmic family and the soul contracts with other people and karmic debt and whatnot, where all this is stored. Okay, and this is clogged. Not only does it prevent the effectivity of your expression of masculine and feminine energies, which affects the overall effectivity of your expression, but it really lets your manifestations, like say lack programming, for instance, that comes from our childhood, dampens all of that. 11th chakra field is the etheric field, where we can make contact with our etheric self, and this is also where aspects of our shadow and aspects of our overall authenticity, like how well are we taking on the fact that we are human, that too, guys, is linked to your first and second chakra. If you are still rejecting the fact that you are human altogether, and if you have some spiritual combobulation, all right, with God and divine and so forth, okay, it really hinders you in being an effective energy manager, because this part of you, okay, keeps pulling you into your shadow self, keeps pulling you into coping, and addictions, and but also neurosis and paranoia and stuff like that, where you see demons everywhere, for instance. So your 12th chakra field is your manifestation field. This is the one that we are addressing when we do, things such as grace manifestation, grace to love, and so forth. Increasing your heart rate, increasing the capacity of your energy field, because this is where, we need to reconnect with unconditionality and neutrality of things. And if we are too judgmental, and do things that we think we have to do, or listen to other people, or are more afraid of how other people see us than how we see ourselves, than you see yourselves, okay, then this really disconnects your effectivity, or your effectiveness with your heart connection, okay, and also your ability to discern truth. So your manifestation field is really the how good you are at manifesting, guys, has a lot to do with your heart connection. with your fourth and your sixth chakra. Okay, so that's why when we work on manifestation, I always work on this unconditionality with you, and really learning how to increase your heart rate and how to be okay with nothingness, how to let go of this illusionary sense of control and fixing. Your 13th chakra field, this is the true self layer of your energy body. This is what we practice every month with the true self session, to communicate, to be proactive, to go in there. And this is where you find your true identity, the who am I question, who am I truly, and what is, who the I am, what I'm talking about, all right? But you got to be proactive, you got to communicate, you got to connect with this, all right? And then, your heart chakra, your sixth chakra, your fifth chakra, all that opens up, and you become able to do videos like I do, or, go outside and perform and sing in front of people, or draw, or play, or express beauty in an unhindered way, all right? And then your 14th chakra, that's, sort of the outermost layer of your energy body, is the soul field, the universal soul field. But this is really the part here that connects you with your soul self, the part that connects you with your soul task, with your soul purpose. No longer your karmic task. Okay, karmic task is kind of like shopping list, but soul purpose is much, much bigger. This is like why you came here for, and what it actually is that you want to be into expression. So it's the promise to fulfill, to your soul self, to come into higher expression, that you can feel there. All right, this really, really strong mission. It's not the same as a soul contract, guys. That's with other souls, okay? But this is like, really the divine guidance that you have within yourself, that allows you to trust and to surrender and to really feel that you're always going to be provided for. All right. So this is really what I wanted to cover with you today. By the way, I'm wearing my hair pulled back and with glasses on purpose, because it's the time where we strip all our false self, right? And I shared with one of the heart warriors that I normally don't wear my hair open because it's way too inconvenient. And if you look closer, you constantly see me like pulling my hair out of my face because it tickles and everything. So this is how I normally wear my hair, okay, and the glasses more frequently, because yeah. So anyway, guys, understand that there are much bigger things, much bigger processes at work here. Those are all processes that bring in a lot of hope, a lot of optimism, and most of you have already found, or at least followed, often unknowingly, your soul's calling, okay, and you are prepared for this. You have been training for this all your life. Healers, practitioners, especially obviously remote healing now is very high in course. Guys, you're going to be extremely busy in the future. Okay, so let's get through these next 2-3 months here gracefully. This is the first wave. We're going to probably see a few more waves of the coronavirus until our mindset has accepted that we just have like another flu. All right, so at that point then it will be like that, but right now it's not. So take this seriously, because the socioeconomic impact will be severe. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Come to the free self-healing circles that I'm going to do online, or make your own, whatever. Become creative. Thank you for supporting transCODES, and thank you for coming to our programs that can really help, one soul at a time to do all this.